Greetings to my U family and friends. I am Dr. Patricia Morgan, affectionately known as Trish to my new family, repping '06 Crew College of Arts and Science. And I have the pleasure of serving as president of the University of Miami Black Alumni Society. Since our inception in 1989, BAS has been committed to enhancing the experiences of African American, African, Black, non-African descent, Black Caribbean, and Black Latin alumni and students. Our mission is to facilitate and support a wide range of networking opportunities among our alumni, our students, faculty, and community in advancing the interests and needs of our Black community while illuminating our rich history at the U. Our three strategic goals, which you will hear multiple times today, are increasing opportunities for alumni engagement, philanthropy, and mentoring. Today, we come before you to celebrate Freedom Day, to fellowship and talk a little business so you are informed of our upcoming programs and initiatives and can stay connected with our youth family. Today's cultural event is not to celebrate the end of slavery. It's a bit deeper than that. Officially called Juneteenth National Independence Day, but also known as Freedom Day and Emancipation Day, Juneteenth is the day to celebrate the emancipation of enslaved people in the South years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1863. Had it not been for Union Major General Gordon Granger arriving in Galveston, Texas, who knows how long it took for us to even get our freedom and for us to even know that we were free. In the reading of Order Number 3, he states, "The people of Texas are informed that, in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between master and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes the between employer and hired labor." Sadly, we are still not free. As stated earlier, today's Juneteenth celebration is not to celebrate the end of slavery. We come together to celebrate our collective strength, our resilience, and our truth, a truth that has been deliberately hidden from us, and now we see the same deliberate attempts of masking our history with our children. As an educator that's taught from middle school all the way up into graduate levels, I know that our story can be hard, it can be sad, it can be difficult, especially to package it in a way that's developmentally appropriate for our kids. However, it is only through recognition of our truth that we're able to make meaningful progress. One of my favorite quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." We hope that today's program sheds light on our history, and we look forward to learning and growing today. And now to our agenda. We will begin with a quick general body meeting so you are informed of our current initiatives and our accomplishments. We're going to introduce you to our new executive leadership, go over some priorities that we have, do a couple of recognition, and then close our business meeting, and then start singing the National Black Anthem. We will have the Libation Ceremony and then our Juneteenth program. So as I stated before, we have three priorities that we hope you can connect to. One, regional connection and alumni engagement, financial support and fundraising, and priority 3 is mentoring. We've accomplished a lot within the last fiscal year that I want to highlight. I first want to highlight our Giving Day. So we had a Black Excellence Reunion along with our Giving Day, and it was instrumental in increasing our philanthropic support for diversity and inclusion scholarships, projects, and program at the U. Overall, our society raised $46,000 this past fiscal year, and we look forward to beating that this year. I also want us to highlight some engagement activities, as that's one of our pillars. We had a wonderful Juneteenth 2020 celebration. We learned how to pivot quickly because we were used to meeting in person, but we found that that was a way to increase access to all of our alums all across the world. So we're so happy to see all of you here today. A couple of engagement highlights that I have for you. We had 11 executive board meetings, 10 subcommittee meetings in preparation for our Black virtual reunion that we had. Our reunion focused on education, wealth, and health. And we also had a couple of programming awards. We won 3 awards last year, including national awards for our programming. We won the Regional CHASE Award, which stands for Council for the Advancement and Support of Education last year for the Juneteenth program last year under their special events and special events pivot category. It was awarded on January 29th, 2021. We also won the Gold Award in the Circle of Excellence under the Alumni Relations Pivot category. And lastly, we won the Silver Award for the Circle of Excellence under Targeted Constituency Engagement category. So we are proud of the work that we're doing, and we look forward to increasing opportunities to fellowship, network, and grow our understanding and our learning. Now to Wendy.
Good evening, and thank you, Trish, for kicking us off this evening. I would like to share a bit about our Black Alumni Reunion, which came back with a bang earlier this year. And in addition to receiving numerous awards, we also want to acknowledge how we were able to reconnect so many alumni with the university. We brought together 350 alumni, students, and community members to participate in a 3-day event, which centered on our health, wealth, and education. We had special breakout rooms for students to meet alumni in respective fields of interest. And we also want to say a huge thank you to all of our committee members who put in so many hours and so many phone calls and emails and all of the effort that it took to really bring the event together and to share in our success. Also want to recognize that University of Miami Black Alumni Society is legit and official. The bylaws were adopted in May by the University of Miami Board of Directors. Despite being around for 30 plus years, the University of Miami Black Alumni Society didn't have a constitution in place. And so we now are a formally recognized affinity group of the university, and we'll continue to do all of our best. A few university updates for those who may not have been in the know. The University of Miami recently underwent a series of review process and pulled together a committee to identify some buildings on campus that should be renamed. And there are a number now that are going to be renamed to acknowledge the past and present of the university, including forthcoming one location that will honor a Black alumni. So we're really looking forward to hearing what happens with the committee and the decisions that they make regarding naming buildings on campus. We also want to give a huge shout out and congratulations to the University of Miami Trailblazers, those original graduates from the University of Miami who have been working diligently in fundraising for a memorial to recognize the first Black graduates of the University of Miami. And that will be implemented on campus next year. There is a Global Black Studies Center that is in the works. And so we will be sharing more about how you can support in fundraising for the Global Black Studies Center, which will bring together the University of Miami community with the greater Miami community at large. We also want to plug that there is a centennial celebration. If you didn't know, the University of Miami is approaching 100 years this year in 2025. So as of this year, we're going to begin campaigning in the Ever Brighter campaign to fundraise and develop additional projects for strengthening the University of Miami and really getting our rank higher than it already is. And lastly, for our beloved football fans, Homecoming 2021 is gonna be here sooner than we realize. So mark your calendars for November 5th through the 6th and plan to join us, whether that be in person or virtually, for celebrating the University of Miami and our athletics. At this point, I'll turn it over to Aston Hayes to introduce our new board. And I want to say thank you to all those who voted in the elections this year. And drum roll, please, Aston, cue up who our new board entails.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Aston Hayes, the newly president-elect of the the Alumni Society. So thank you very much for allowing me to stay on the board. I really appreciate it, but want to introduce the rest of my counterparts this evening. So as you already know, you've been introduced to Dr. Patricia Dunock Morgan, who is our president. She was the president-elect previously, and she's the owner and founder of Executive Learning Lab. If you are not familiar with her, she is out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. And next up is me, president-elect. As I mentioned, I am a key account manager for Remy Cointreau. I served as the secretary for the last board for the last 2 years, and I'm out of Chicago, Illinois. Then we have a new board member, Miss Leslie Kirkland, who is the class of 18 with her business degree. She is the vice president, our newly elected vice president, and director of information technology and director of revenue cycle for Front End and University of Miami. She is obviously in the Miami area. Then we have Mr. Asghar Ali, who is out of the New York area. He is our fundraising chair and treasurer. I'm super excited about having him on board, as he is the vice president of Deutsche Bank. Glad to have you aboard. And Alana Smith, she is our newly elected secretary, so I pass the baton on to her. She's a school psychologist out of Wake County Public School System. And if you don't know where Wake County is, that is in the North Carolina, Durham, Raleigh-Durham area. Next, we have Dr. George Koontz Jr. He is a longtime supporter of the university, as you can see, and he is our newly elected executive at large. So thank you, George, and out of Miami as well. Then lastly, as you saw, sorry for the background noise, I am outside. We have Miss Wendy Ann Dixon, who you guys should be super familiar with, who's been our immediate past president for the last 2 years. She is now director of communications, so give her a round of applause. That's new in the last few months. And she is out of the DC, the DMV area. So a round of applause to everyone new. In case you need to reach anybody, here's the executive board contact information, what region we're in, our email, and best way to reach us. So for anybody that's interested in knowing anything about what's going on, please feel free to reach out at your leisure. Thank you and congratulations to the committee. Also with that, you saw our contact information, but if for any reason you are interested in being on a committee, we are putting an invitation out for the following roles. So any liaisons, we're looking for a student liaison, alumni association liaison, Canes community, so all the regional groups that we have, a fundraising chair, a scholarship chair. So everything that's listed in front of you. So if you are absolutely interested in just learning more information, even if you're not sure that you want to be a part of it, please reach out to any of us or reach out to Doreen. I think we were gonna, sorry about the background. Please reach out to Doreen and she can give you more information on how you can get involved in the committee. Or if there's not even anything listed here, we have special committee chairs. You have an idea that you want to bring our way and you are willing to chair, please feel free to let us know about that as well. And thank you. I'm going to pass it back to Madam President.
And I would like to take this time to formally thank our previous board, especially who I call my forever Madam President. Wendy, thank you so much for your service, your support, giving all of your time, staying on a little extra as we got it together. You had to commit to staying on the board a little longer than expected, but we thank you for continuing your journey with us as our immediate past president. And we would also like to thank Stan the man. Stan Thornton is not here with us today. I believe that he is joining virtually, but we want to thank them for continuing to serve even after their service term. So please make sure that you stay in touch with our committee. If you want to join, the link is in the chat box, and stay in touch with the U. Special shout out to our communication team. We always get people wanting to know how we are able to do this. So shout out to Wendy and Denitra for all your work on updating our base and always keeping us in the know. If you are interested in following us, all of our social media accounts are in the chat box as well as on the screen. Please use the hashtag and tag us. We want the university to see the amazing things that we are doing. Our hashtag is UMBAS Juneteenth 2021. So please hashtag us in all of your pictures, your screenshots, and anything that you learned today. We would love to hear from you. All right, this concludes the business portion of today's meeting. We are now going to transition to Hammond Butler's gospel choir, and they will be singing for us, Lift Every Voice and Sing, and you can sing along.
Good evening, Canes. It's a great day to be alive, and I want to honor you for choosing to be here today to celebrate Juneteenth. I want to invite us to plant ourselves. Some of you may not know what the Libation Ceremony is, so let's get comfortable where we are and take a breath together. As you take your next breath, visualize yourself going through all the elements that are beneath where you sit or stand until you get to the water below, and plant yourself here. Here you will release any negativity you have going on in your life into the water. On our inhale, take in all the positivity and nourishment of the water. Be fluent, be buoyant, and be present in this moment that we share together. Keep in mind that everything that lives in this world needs water. Water is everywhere and all around us. We were fed and nourished through our mother's wombs by water. We are all connected through this element. Water is life. I'm going to pour libation, meaning I'm going to pour liquid from one vessel into another. In this case, from this vessel, as I face east, where the sun rises, as life is a cycle. Please keep in mind, this is a tradition that came from across the water from West Africa with our ancestors through the Middle Passage and lives on today each time we pour one out for the homies. In this case, I decided to use water and added a bit of Uncle Nearest to honor Nearest Green and our ancestors that picked sugarcane in order to make the product which we now know as Uncle Nearest and will enjoy later on in this program. You can use water, ghee, or a spirit of your choice when doing libation. Moving forward, I will make 3 statements about the past, present, and future. And in responding, Ashe, which means make it so. You will respond by saying the same. I'm going to start by pouring out a little for those that have come before us, our mothers, fathers, grandparents, family, friends, and loved ones that have shown us the way and made us who we are. So to that, I say, Ashe. Then I'm going to pour one out for all of us sharing this moment of Black excellence together in the present moment. Those of us that are doing the work and continue to fight for the next generation, and those of us that couldn't make it out, but we are still mindful of them and what they add to our lives present. And to that, we say, Ashe. The third and final part, we pour in honor of the future, dreams, plans, ideas, seeds, anything we want to manifest in this lifetime. All the work we do is for this. Let's pour a little water out for them and say, Ashe. In my vessel, there's a little water left. So we keep that there in case someone comes to visit. It's good hospitality to offer someone a drink of water. So we leave a little out for the next space. So as we move forward with our program, please remember that all the information you take in today is tied back to the ancestors from the spirits and the soul food we will partake this evening. Take it all in with each of your senses and share the experience with those you deem worthy. Enjoy and happy Juneteenth.
Thank you, Aston, for that. I want to welcome everyone to this Juneteenth celebration. But before I get into that, I want to thank the Hammond Butler Gospel Choir and also Aston Hayes for acknowledging our ancestors, offering us that opportunity to honor and remember those who come before us enduring the struggle while illuminating the path for success for us to follow. Now, good evening, everyone. My name is Trayvon, and I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening for our 3rd annual award-winning Juneteenth celebration hosted by the Black Alumni Society. Now, I'm a newly minted alumnus to the Black Alumni Society, as I obtained my degree in communications this past May. And a little bit about myself is I love storytelling, multimedia storytelling, whether it's audio, visual, or written. So anything storytelling, you can find me there. And it's my honor to be your host / MC for this year's Juneteenth celebration. I think we'd all agree that it's important to know our history so we are not only well-informed, but when you know your history, you know where you come from. And understanding where you come from gives you purpose. So what is our purpose tonight? We're here to celebrate Juneteenth. And why do we celebrate Juneteenth? Juneteenth is a special celebration for Black, Indigenous people of color, as it marks the day that enslaved people in America received word that they were no longer beholden to their slave masters. The message delivered by Major General Gordon Granger, a Union soldier of freedom, had finally come to the more than 250,000 enslaved in Texas. The message came 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, as President Lincoln declared that all persons held as slaves were henceforth free to be. Pressing on, these resilient Black people enthusiastically embraced and celebrated this newfound freedom. Our Independence Day, Juneteenth, purchasing 10 acres of land in Houston, Texas, to forever commemorate and celebrate the foundation of our Freedom Day. And I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the headlines this past week, but Juneteenth is now a federal holiday in the US. So tonight's celebration is for all of us to enjoy. We hope that you have your whole family watching, learning, and sharing with us tonight. Our Juneteenth celebration is family friendly, so I just want to remind you guys that we ask each and every one when they're sharing in the chat or coming on camera that all interactions remain family friendly. We have an amazing lineup for you tonight, and we will engage with your heart, intellect, soul, and of course, what's the celebration amongst people of color without the sharing of food? We hope that you all have the items needed to put together tonight's signature beverage presented by alumna Nia Grace, the Unfashioned, and the spicy, sure to be finger-looking good jerk fried chicken wings prepared by alumnus, chef, and culinary artist Andre Palmer. Did you get your Bravo guava sauce? If not, there's still time and we'll let you know how. So to mark tonight's event, we have a number of giveaways to share. We hope you submitted your favorite Juneteenth or family recipe as we compile our Juneteenth cookbook. A copy of this compilation will be sent to all those joining us tonight, along with a gift from the Society for those who submitted a completed recipe entree. Highlighting our lineup tonight will be an engaging and thought-provoking conversation moderated by rising junior and executive producer of UM's The Culture, Kiana Dorsey, with historian, psychologist, and documentarian and community leader, Dr. Marvin Dunn. So let's continue with the program and the amazing lineup we've prepared for you tonight. And we're gonna start that off by finding out who we have joining us for tonight's program with some poll questions. And the first poll question, once it gets pulled up, I don't know if it's there, but the first poll question, do we have any alumni in the house? And if so, which decade did you graduate in? And we'll give you some time to answer those questions. Okay, I see the 80s. Okay, 2000s is running it up right now. So that's very surprising. 2000s is running it up. Okay. I see the 1990s. Okay, starting to see some competition. Okay. We have a few more people waiting on the vote. All right, so it looks like the 2000s won. The 2000s won. Okay, I'm so shocked by this. Where are my 90s graduates at? Okay, so now we're about to get into the second poll question, and that is how many family members are watching with you tonight? So if you have more than 10, y'all know it's a Juneteenth celebration right there. Okay. All right, we have a good amount. I appreciate it. You know, a party by itself is a good party. Okay. Give you some more time. Those remaining people that want to answer the question. Okay. All right. So it looks like, okay, it was actually a very close tie. It was a really close one. I don't know if you guys see it on your end, but it was a close one with the 2 and 4 and the me, myself, and I party. Okay. So we're going to go on to the next question. The third and final question, what part of the country are you joining us from? I would love to know. I don't know if it's pulled up yet. Okay, Chicago. Okay. See Florida, I see Dade. Okay, all right. So people are blowing up the chat. Feel free to enter in where you're at in the chat and also put it on the poll. Okay, 305. Let's go. All right. If you indicated other, please put that in the chat. I would love to know as well where you're located at. All right, so everyone check the response. Okay, so before I continue, it doesn't look like we have anyone from the village of El Portal, but I would like to give a shout out because I want to recognize those joining that will later join us potentially from the village of El Portal as they received a special invite to the program this year by Councilwoman Darian Martin. And also thanks to everyone for getting our Juneteenth celebration off to a great start and for participating in tonight's poll. Up next, we have alumna Nia Grace, and a little bit about Nia. She is the owner and operator of Daryl's Corner Bar and Kitchen, known for its soulful flavors, signature cocktails, personal connections, and live entertainment. Nia has worked in the restaurant hospitality industry for over 20 years, but beyond restaurant hospitality, Nia is committed to the need in all of us to belong. Before purchasing Daryl's Corner Bar and Kitchen, Nia embraced a decade-long career in the nonprofit sector, fundraising and marketing for community-based human service organizations. Her innate talent gave her the opportunity to work on various projects with MTV, Russell Simmons, HBO Deaf Poetry, the Major League Baseball Players Trust, and the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Nia has remained focused and involved in the community she loves, serving on boards for the AIDS Action Community of Massachusetts and the Boston Cultural Council, with current board commitments with the Massachusetts Restaurant Association, Boston Center for Youth and Families, and the Roxbury YMCA. She is a 40 under 40 leader as recognized by the Boston Business Journal, one of 100 most influential Bostonians by Boston Magazine, and is also a recipient of the prestigious Pinnacle Award sponsored by the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce. Please, without further ado, let's give a warm cane welcome to Miss Nia Grace. Hi, Nia.
Hi, Trayvon. Thank you for that introduction.
No problem. So before I get into it, before I leave, I want to kind of engage with you a little bit. And I wanted to ask you, why is this Juneteenth celebration so important to yourself?
Well, Juneteenth, been celebrating it since I was in high school. Something that we, recognize while, even while we were in college. But it's so important for me this year as I stand here as an entrepreneur. Per my bio, I did spend 12 years in nonprofit management, but for the last 3 years, I decided to really take a chance on myself and get out here in the entrepreneurial market. I had been a serial entrepreneur, usually part-time prior to that, but now I stand here as one of 8 African-American licensed owners of restaurants here in the city of Boston. Where 51% of our population is Black or minorities, but yet we represent less than 1% of our businesses that are able to hold space and be licensed with full service dining and events. And so I stand here as an anomaly in my city. And I also stand here, truly on the backs of others who have come before me for the last, 70 years or so, trying to fight this fight in a market that allows us to build wealth. And they definitely wanted to keep us from building wealth. So I stand here as one of only 3 women who are owners in this market, as well as the industry. And I'm proud to do so. And I'm proud to, employ predominantly minorities within my business. And we're not a minority here, we're the majority. So I'm proud to employ, my Black and brown brothers and sisters, be able to mentor them and lift them up, be able to use my voice and my platform for more than, profit, and do that for progress. So that's why I'm super happy to be here today and I'm proud of this celebration.
That's really dope, Nia. And I really appreciate hearing you say that because I think a lot of times people take for granted the importance of giving back to your community. And like the whole saying of each one teach one and giving back is so important. But without further ado, I also want to ask you, why did you choose this beverage selection and celebration of Juneteenth?
Absolutely. Again, I talk about choice and freedom, right? And I just want to make a couple of notes about that too real quick. So for me, Juneteenth, and when I think about my operation, my business, my presence here, it gives me the freedom to operate. It gives me the freedom to celebrate, the freedom to claim and promote my history, the freedom to do business unapologetically, the freedom to own our ideas and the freedom to be proud about those ideas, the freedom to lead, and the freedom to reject charity and promote equality. And so the reason why I choose the beverage and the spirit tonight, particularly Uncle Nearest Premium Tennessee Whiskey, is because that was a legacy that had been buried for a very, very long time. The legacy of Uncle Nearest starts in 1820 when he was born. It matured in 1856 when he perfected the Lincoln County method, which in fact makes a bourbon in Tennessee. And that's about the year that he helped the young Jack Daniels perfect their method as well to make Tennessee whiskey. But it wasn't until 2016 that we understood and uncovered that legacy. And to me, being able to choose Uncle Nearest as my spirit, it lets me know that I don't have to have on my bar the brand that they tell me is popular, the brand that they tell me is the highest seller. I put on my bar what I want, and being an owner allows me to really be selective and intentional about the spirits and the products and the people and everything that I use for my business. And so I'm Black owned from the core. And I try to make sure, you know, as we gain parity in this environment and this industry, that we're able to put bottles and spirits like Uncle Nearest on Front Street so that they can be celebrated for the history that they have within the community. And again, something that is unknown. A little bit more about that history is that Uncle Nearest was a slave. He was a slave working on the Jack Daniels plantation, you know, and it was one of those things where even after he was a freed slave and his lineage was freed, they continued to work for the Daniels family. And they did so, you know, with pride, because we are always going to be proud of our work product because we go hard. But they did so truly without any credence and credit for what they started. In the United States, there are probably only 2 locations that people will credit and say that that's a true whiskey bourbon, and that's Kentucky and Tennessee. And again, Tennessee would not have bourbon if it were not for Nathan Nearest Green. And I think it's really important that, you know, we let people know that, you know, among one of the most, award-winning now brands in the country, Uncle Nearest, it was started by a Black man, and we need to, you know, get in front of our legacy. I'm sure maybe Andre might talk a little bit more about this, again, about how we originated in these white kitchens as well, cooking for presidents, bringing in food that, you know, people kind of salivate over right now. It's our food, it's our culture, you know what I mean? And so that's why I wanted to definitely choose Uncle Nearest as my spirit of choice. I no longer carry Jack Daniels as a choice. Why would I, get the copy when I can have the original? And so tonight I will be using, or actually demonstrating, the cocktail, the Unfashioned. Because again, a long time ago, it's kind of like a play on words. It was really unfashionable to maybe be of color. And truth is, we've always been in fashion. And so it's really just that homage there.
Thank you, Mia, for sharing. And yeah, everything you said, nothing but facts. I think in my 20 years of living so far, the short-lived, one of the things I've learned is ownership is key of oneself and also of your properties and stuff. So you can make the decisions that you want in life and make the impact that you want to leave. So thank you for sharing. And now I would like to invite a few of our Juneteenth participants to help us mix our unfashioned during this segment. So everyone that's on the call right now, feel free to raise your hand so that we can allow you to participate in making this drink with Miss Nia Grace.
All right. So I've got, who do I have on the call that's going to be joining me today?
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi, this is Jennifer Miles from the class of 2003.
Hi, Jennifer.
Okay, don't worry.
Hi, this is Dion, Master's Program 2017.
Hi, Dion.
George Koontz, 1976.
Oh, he's ready. Okay. He's got another favorite of mine, that Black Girl Magic. I love it.
Good.
Hi, Nia. I'm Leslie Kirkland, and this is
Dennis Goldberg.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
NBA 2018.
BA 98.
Okay.
Oh,
So old, we don't
Excellent.
even mention it.
perfect. All right, so I'll just get started. I'll just talk about our ingredients. I think we got everybody who's going to be working on this cocktail with me, right?
Yes.
Perfect. So we're going to make the unfashioned. The unfashioned, in terms of the full recipe, it's 2 ounces of Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey. It's a ½ ounce of the Amaro Nonino, 2 dashes of Ango Bitters, and a ½ ounce of brown sugar simple syrup. What I like to do is always start with my spirit, and I use my jigger as well. We're going to use the 1856. Well, I'm going to use the 1856. The 1856 is one that is aged a bit longer than the 1884. It has a stronger flavor in terms of vanilla and caramel. It's also darker in tint because it's aged longer than the 1884. And I feel like it's richer. If you enjoy whiskey and bourbon, this is going to be the one that you can drink straight, but it also makes a very rich cocktail. So we'll start with the 1856. And for those who don't know, 1856 is said to be the year that Uncle Nearest perfected the Lincoln County process in terms of making bourbon. All right, so we put our 2 ounces. I have a jigger that's a ½ ounce on one side. I'm going to put in my brown sugar simple. Like that. I'm gonna add my 2 dashes of Ango. Going to add again that ½ ounce of Amaro.
2 dashes of water.
Then I'm going to add ice to my shaking container here. A couple things. When you add the ice to a cocktail, and particularly a whiskey bourbon, you don't want to air it out too much, but that's what water does. It allows you to air out the cocktail and make it smoother. What I don't ever do, vigorously shake that cocktail. Never a bourbon cocktail will I shake. I'll always stir it. I'll stir it 20 turns. I'm from Boston, so I'm gonna get a little corny here. I'm gonna sing Sweet Caroline because that's what happens in Boston. But additionally, that's actually truly the 20-second turn that I need to have in this cocktail. So if I were singing, it would be Sweet Caroline, oh, oh, oh. Good times never seem so good.
So good, so
good,
good.
so good. There goes my girl. I've been in love. Oh, oh, to be
Yes.
there you go, right? So you have a little fun with it.
Yes.
Exactly. So after that 20 turns, you've got that cocktail really good and chilled. I like to use a rock splash, as a 10-ounce rock splash. I'm always going to strain my cocktail.
Thank you. That's professional stirring, Bridget.
And again, what we call this is a spirit forward cocktail. One that has no other true mixers other than additional spirits that go into it. How we like to finish this cocktail is with Luxardo Cherries. These are black Luxardo cherries, not your regular red maraschino cherries. I'll add to it. Additionally, I like to take a orange wedge here and be able to kind of give it a little spritz of that rind. I'm going to rub the rim a bit. It's going to give it some citrus to it and just drop that in there. And what we have here is our Unfashioned. How's everyone doing on that cocktail?
We're doing well. I'm ready to drink it.
All right. Oh, they ready.
Love that. So now we want to open it up to the Q&A session. It looks like everyone's enjoying their drink. It's all done. But for the participants in the audience, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand so that you can ask your question live to Ms. Nia Grace herself. So I see we have some people to raise our hand. Feel free to unmute yourself. Yes. Okay, so we have this question from Noelle Baldwin, and she says, "What's your favorite dish to pair with this cocktail?"
You know, it can be on the sweeter side. Most bourbons tend to be a little bit sweeter. We add the brown sugar simple as well, but I think it's really smooth. So I would say I'd eat this. I make blackened catfish at our restaurant, so I would eat it with the blackened catfish. We do jambalaya. I'd eat it with that. You know what? I can't even be biased. This is my cocktail of choice. I'd eat this with anything, truth be told, or drink this with anything.
Perfect. And then our next guest is here to ask her question. Feel free to go, Miss Martin, I believe.
Did you call out my name, Marjorie?
Yes, ma'am. You can go.
Okay,
No,
I
you're
was actually I asked. I don't drink alcohol, so what would you recommend? Can the cocktail be made without alcohol?
I guess if you wanted something like this, we're talking about vanilla, honey, some cinnamon notes as well, brown sugar. I would think that this is best with the sweet tea. You know what I mean? So you can do a sweet tea recipe, add an orange instead of a lemon base. We also make sweet tea as well. That would probably be my recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it looks like that was all of the questions. Again, oh wait, let me see. I think it's one more. Okay, it says we actually have one more question. Okay, never mind. I don't think they're gonna ask it anymore. Okay, well, I just want to thank you, Ms. Nia Grace, and also everyone for participating in this Juneteenth celebration and this moment for making this cocktail. I definitely have to try it out myself. But up next is the segment with Kiana and Dr. Dunn. And a little bit about Kiana Dorsey. Kiana Dorsey is a rising junior and stamp scholar at the University of Miami, majoring in motion pictures production with a minor in creative advertising. Dorsey is a Maryland native and is loving her experience thus far, and she has a strong passion for storytelling, diversity, and accurate representation in film and television. Dorsey produced her first film, Permanent Ink, this past semester that has won a variety of awards, some being the Hollywood Gold Awards and New York Movie Awards for Best LGBTQ Film. Dorsey currently serves as the executive producer of UMTV's The Culture, the first and only show that highlights the Black college experience, and she is currently working with Discovery Inc. as a television development intern for the TLC network. Dorsey is a proud Cane and is thrilled to be working with the Black Alumni Society in this Juneteenth celebration. Without further ado, Ms. Kiana Dorsey.
Hi, everyone. Wow, thank you, Trayvon, for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here and to be able to have this insightful and invigorating conversation with Dr. Marvin Dunn. Now let's introduce who Dr. Marvin Dunn is. Dr. Marvin Dunn is a native Floridian and a retired chairman of the Department of Psychology at Florida International University. Sorry, I lost my thing. Born during the Jim Crow era, he brings a perspective to Black history that has been missed, distorted, and minimalized in the past. He co-authored the Miami Riot of 1980, Crossing the Bounds, authored Black Miami in the 20th Century, and A History of Florida Through Black Eyes. Dr. Dunn appears regularly on local and national television broadcasts, providing insight on race issues in America. He has been published in major newspapers, and he is a nationally respected scholar, author, historian, and community activist in race and ethnic relations. So please help me in welcoming Dr. Marvin Dunn. Hi, Dr. Dunn, how are you? Oh, you're on mute.
I'm fine, thank you. How are you tonight? Thank you.
I'm good. Welcome, welcome. So let's jump right into it because I know we have a lot of questions and I'm so excited for this conversation. So tell us, when was the first time that you remember hearing about Juneteenth?
From my grandmother. My grandmother told us that her grandmother told her that they knew that the slaves were free because, as my great grandmother put it, the big guns fired, which meant that the Union batteries, artillery batteries, once the Lee gave up at Appomattox, the Union artillery started firing off their guns, and this thunder rolled across the South. And that's how many slaves learned that the war was over. And this rolling thunder, it took weeks for it to get to Florida, incidentally, but finally the word got out. But that's how I was told about it as a child.
Wow, that's a great story.
Well, you know, let me just make a couple of comments before we go forward, because I do think that I would rather speak to you tonight, not as a historian, not as a community leader, but as an elder. If someone's been around, I'll be 81 next week. And when I was coming up, I was told that when elders talk, you listen. And I just want to share a couple of things with you guys tonight, because we're going to talk about Juneteenth, and I have a particular view about that as we move into the evening. I've seen a lot in those 81 years, including a lot of tricks, and this could be one. Word reaches Texas, slaves are free. So you go up to your previous owner and say, okay, boss, well, are we free? Can I vote? No. Can my child go to that school that your child goes to? No. Can my son Wilbur marry that white girl he's living with down the road? No. What changed? The same thing that a white person could do to a black person the day after Juneteenth without consequence, they could have done it the day before June. Nothing changed in terms of the daily lives of the slaves. It doesn't mean that obviously the winning of the war was not significant, because it was. And it also means that that should be celebrated for what it accomplished. But let us not overstate what was accomplished. The slaves were not free. Sharecropping took the place of slavery. The white folks got the land back. So what was won? I'm wondering, in my view, and we can talk about this, if we're gonna have a celebration, let's celebrate making Election Day a national holiday. I'll celebrate that. That'll make a difference to Black people. That'll make a difference to a lot of people. Let's get serious about reparations. Let America get serious about paying the bill. This is a paper holiday. If you get 100% of the Senate to pass unanimously anything, it's meaningless. I'm speaking to you as an elder. Look at this in terms of what might be behind it. The real goal that we should have is to make Election Day a national holiday. Now you got Southerners who come say, we just gave you all a holiday. You got Juneteenth. You want a holiday, you want to vote, have Election Day be a holiday too? This one doesn't mean anything in terms of power. That one would mean something, Election Day being a federal holiday. So I don't want to throw cold water on your parade, but don't be too quick to celebrate something that didn't make any difference in the daily lives of the Black people that it was supposed to have impacted. The chains that the slaves had were not physical chains. They were psychological chains. They were economic chains. They were social chains, political chains. So just because the word reached Texas, you couldn't just leave the plantation. Your mother had dropsy. You had 5 kids. Your wife is sick. Where are you going to go? Detroit? So let's think this through. Is it possible that this is a political move on the part of the right to give us something now that doesn't mean anything, to hold back what might mean something really important later? I just put that question out there. Let's still have the party. I got my Jack Daniels too. I never had a Zoom I could drink. So look out. But I'm just not going to get on this bandwagon too fast. It's not to throw water on your parade, but you all are the most intelligent people we got in the race. You're graduates of this university. My daughter finished UM as well. Think. Don't just feel about this holiday, think. So having gave my speech, I'll let you proceed with your questions.
No, I agree with everything that you said. I feel like, especially in the wake of the new news that it is now a national holiday, it's been a buzz and it's been controversial and people have been talking as to what does this really mean. So I guess my question to you is, how would you commemorate Juneteenth? How do you approach the day, especially with its new rebranding?
As I said, with some degree of humility for the folks at the time, for what it meant to them. How were they to know that 100 years later, it would not have changed a lot for the Black folks living in Overtown? How were they to have known that? They knew and heard that they were free, and that was enough. And that's worth celebrating. That's worth celebrating. I'll grant that. But let's not use the word emancipation too loosely. Let's not use the word independent too loosely, because the Black folks were not independent of white people. They were more dependent upon them after Juneteenth than they were before. Cotton production in the South went up after the Civil War. Went up. There were more Black folks picking cotton after the war than were doing it before. So I'm asking here for perspective. Let's be happy. Let's have our libations. Let's remember the ancestors. They paid a price, and it was a good day for them. They should have had that wonderful day. But we're now over a century later and a century wiser. So let's put things in perspective and keep looking over our shoulder. I don't trust the government, shall we say, at this point, to do a big favor for Black folks when they're trying so hard to keep us from voting. I'll stop preaching. You have another question, I'm sure.
Okay, so let's transition to your book that you co-authored, The Miami Riot of 1980, Crossing the Bounds. In your book, you talked about the riots that took place in Miami following an unlawful traffic stop that resulted in the death of Arthur McDuffie. What did you see that day during the riots, and how do you remember feeling?
Really? Whereas I saw murder being committed in broad daylight with thousands of people watching, including me, on 62nd Street on May 17th, 1980. there were 2,000 or 3,000 people pouring out of the Liberty Square housing project when the verdicts in the McDuffie case came down, and these 5 white officers, police officers who had beaten this man to death for speeding were let off by a white jury, all white jury in Tampa. The rage could not be constrained. I was at home in Coconut Grove. I got a call from a reporter that they were killing white people up on 62nd Street. As a matter of fact, when those verdicts came in, I opened a bottle of Jack Daniels. I was home in Coconut Grove. Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty by an all-white jury in Tampa. I knew there was going to be a problem. I went, after I got this call from a reporter, up to 62nd and 12th Parkway, and I saw these black men and young boys killing 2 white boys in broad daylight. They were using a Miami Herald newspaper dispenser to smash this boy's head. He was on the ground, surrounded by 12 or 15 young black men, killing him. One of the brothers, one of the 2 white boys who got caught in that situation was already dead. His body was in the median strip when I got there. So what did I see? I saw this. I saw a mob. It was a black mob, mind you, killing white people. What did I feel? You know, that was over 40 years ago. I still feel that I should have done more than just go down to the police station. That was a satellite station down on 46th Street. So I went down there and tried to get the police to come up and help these people, but they weren't prepared, so they didn't go up. But I still wonder whether I should have done more on that day. You don't see something like that and forget it. So that's what I did. That's what I felt. It took 4 days, 18 people died, 10 blacks, 8 whites, $100 million worth of damage to the city. And Miami, Liberty City is still not over it.
Wow. Well, that was a very traumatic experience. I can only imagine.
But something good did come of it. One good thing did come of it. Only one thing that I can think of. Because that jury was all white, because the lawyers for the police officers used their preemptive challenges to remove black jurors. You can just remove so many for not having to give a reason. You can't do that anymore. That was the main change that came out of that riot. A black judge, Wilkie Ferguson, my classmate in Liberty City back in the 1950s, who rode the school bus from Opelika to Bunch Park to Liberty City because there were no black schools up there at that time. Wilkie Ferguson was an appellate judge in the 3rd District Appellate Court here in Miami, and he wrote the opinion that made it illegal for lawyers to eliminate blacks or eliminate anybody from a jury based on race. So we're not likely to have an all-white jury hear a case like that again. That's the major change.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that there was some change as a result of it. What did your research in co-writing this book reveal to you about humanity and the state of our country at the time? And what did you learn about how to move forward in fighting for justice?
Well, you know, when the riot happened in 1980, leading up to this event, we had turmoil, we had incidents in the community leading up to this. There was a white Florida highway patrolman who sexually assaulted an 11-year-old black girl in his police car in a field down in South Bay County. And that made the newspapers. And this preceded that riot. And Johnny Jones, Dr. Johnny Jones, who was the black superintendent of schools of Dade County, was fired because of illegal allegations of being involved in illegal activity. Things were not good leading up to that moment. And what did I learn as a result of all of this? It was that most people, when this community exploded, white, black, and Hispanic, were terrified. And before the riot happened, I didn't meet a single Hispanic or white person who thought that what happened to Miss McDuffie was okay. We were all outraged by it. The community expected justice and it didn't happen. Now, my problem with what happened in the aftermath of the riot was that the response of the white community was economic. Let's get more jobs for blacks. Well, that's a good goal to have, but it doesn't stop people from rioting. What puts black people in the street is injustice, the miscarriage of justice, particularly at the hands of the police. A problem we have not yet solved in Miami-Dade County or in this country. So the same thing that led to McDuffie being beaten to death that night in December 1979, in what's now in Wynwood. The same thing happened to that boy in Louisiana last week. We learned about that case in Louisiana. Same circumstances, beating, white cops catching, handcuffing, beat him to death, and then cover it up. That just happened here 2 years ago, became public recently. So the same sort of things are happening. Not that we've had no progress, because we have. We've had Black police chiefs in Dade County and in the city of Miami. That's a big thing. It's not that we haven't had progress. It's not that Juneteenth has no meaning, because it does. It has emotional meaning, but not financial, political, or any meaning beyond what makes a difference in people's daily lives. It's what I would call an affective holiday, a feeling holiday, a paper holiday in a way, but a feeling holiday in the sense that the people who experienced this horror during the period of slavery, and those of us who've come after them, who carry the memories and the hurt forward, have reason to be appreciative that it stopped. But as I said on my Facebook page, to me, it's like you beat your wife for 30 years, and then one day you decide to stop. Is she supposed to celebrate?
Well, that's good food for thought, for sure. In terms of the fight for police brutality, I feel like we've been stuck in an ongoing cycle. But like you said, we have made some progress. So what would be your advice to my generation and future generations about continuing to make that progress and fight for social justice against police brutality?
Well, my first suggestion is don't vilify the police. What I saw that day on May 17th, 1980, when there were no police present, you would be surprised at what people will do when there are no cops around for 4 days. Don't make the mistake of vilifying all the police, because we need the police. We need them more than other communities do, because we have more problems in our community. But we need good police officers, respectful police officers, professional police officers. And we can have that if we insist upon it. So rather than, that's my problem with defund the police. Are you crazy? No, reallocate resources, but that's a bad theme y'all hooked on to. And it almost cost us an election for president. Those white folks really, some jumped on that. Defund the police, Black folks want to do that. So let's be careful about how we articulate our goals and make sure that those goals are obviously real and meaningful to us, but that the expression of them doesn't necessarily alienate folks we need to help us meet those goals. That's my advice.
Good advice. I would say that we definitely need to think about our rhetoric, because sometimes all the details get lost behind the catchy slogans and the phrases, and then the message is just miscommunicated. So I totally agree. I want to transition and talk about your other book, Black Miami in the 20th Century. According to my research, your book, Black Miami in the 20th Century, was the first book devoted to the history of African Americans in South Florida and their pivotal role in the growth of the development of Miami. So tell us, what's the most important fact that you would like others to know about how Black people contributed to early development in Miami?
The white folks who came here to South Florida didn't know dilly squat about how to use the land. They didn't know what to plant. They didn't know how to use core rock to make buildings. They didn't know a damn thing. The Bahamians taught them those things. The Bahamians brought in building techniques that these white folks had. These folks were from Ohio. Julia Tuttle, the mother of Miami, was from Ohio. Flagler was from Ohio. Brickell, Ohio. These were Northerners. So Black people from the Bahamas in particular helped white people tame the land. They got paid precious little for it, but they brought that. They also brought culture. They brought food. They brought music. They brought elements of public life that were not present in white society in the South. So they enriched this community with the Caribbean music and food and customs and what have you. And of course, they provide labor. That's what they needed us for, was to build this place. White folks didn't put up the Royal Palm Hotel, that big hotel Flagler had built. Black men did that. black men built that Dade County courthouse. Around the 20s, black men did that. So we provided the labor to build the railroad, build the hotels. Our women provided the labor to take care of white babies, to clean houses for white people, so they can luxuriate. So we were the labor force. Now the problem now is that the white folks don't need us as labor anymore. They got computers. There are farms down in South Dade County that are run by computers. So that was what we contributed, but what do we have to offer moving forward unless we make some dramatic changes in how we educate our young people? Unless we make some changes in what you all do. I'm done. I've been out there. I'm done. I'm no more demonstrating. I'm done. I write and raise hell from my patio and on this Zoom. But y'all got to take the ball. I'm done. It's up to you guys. Don't rush too quickly towards what seems to be the public fervor of the moment. Be retrospect. Sit back and watch and think and apply your intelligence. Go to your elders and ask us what we think and know, and then make a decision about what you should do as an individual and as an organization. You all, there were 70 of you online right now. Imagine what you could do if you move past just scholarships and banquets or whatever y'all do. If you get serious about really making an impact that I know you can make. So I don't know. I guess I do wish to lecture. I've been lecturing young people for 30, 40 years, so it's nothing to my own kids, so nothing different here. But listen to us. You got George Koontz with you. Listen to George. George knows stuff y'all will never know. He has experienced things you will never experience, nor should you. So, listen to your elders. They have a lot to tell you. Just pay attention.
I couldn't agree more. And I feel like that's also why it's important that we understand our history so we can see past the smoke and mirrors and the fanfare of small advancements that aren't really doing real change. So I appreciate it.
Let me make one other suggestion too, particularly that applies here in South Florida. A lot of your folks are all over the country, but y'all need to leave the Cubans alone. Stop beating up on the Cubans. They're here to stay. We need to live with them. We need to learn Spanish. We need to encourage our young people to learn Spanish. If we're going to stay in Dade County, stop fighting the cultural reality of where we live and find ways to cooperate with these other groups that have come in after we have been here over 1 or 2 years. So I'm concerned about the amount of ethnic, not just racial, ethnic contentions in our community that I think we need to really deal with and get beyond, including this whole Cuban Black thing that I think has been overplayed for far too long. Let's reach out to the Cuban American community as we wish they would reach out to us and see what we can accomplish together. This community is going to be brown. It is brown. White folks left. What is Dade County? 20% white? They left us here alone to run Dade County. Let's get with it. We can do a better job than white folks did.
I agree. We're better together, as someone in the comments said. Totally agreed. Now, changing gears, not only did you research and study ways to improve discipline in school systems, but you also founded your own. So please tell us more about how the Dr. Marvin Dunn Academy for Community Education, formerly known as Academy for Community Education, how did this come to be and what has its impact been so far?
When I went up to Liberty City that day in May that I was talking about, most of the people that I saw on the streets were kids, high school age kids, raising the most hell. So my sense was, criticizing the Dade County school system for not being able to keep more kids in school was one thing, but what am I doing to try to deal with that problem? Other than just kicking the school system in the butt about it. So the Academy for Community Education was founded a couple of years after the riot to try to see if we could hold more kids who were inclined to participate in those kinds of activities in school to get them graduated and into a better life. And that's what the school did, has been doing for all these years, committed to assisting disadvantaged kids or kids who are not performing well in school to get them out. that's what the Academy has been doing. I hope they will continue to do it. I've not been associated with the school for quite some time, but that was our mission. What we did in setting up that school in mid-1980s was to invite kids who were having problems, who were not performing well in school, to come to the Academy. And at that time, we were located in Coral Gables primarily. And we had a very simple understanding with them. We will run the school, you won't. And if you don't want to be here, leave. And if you're not here by 5 minutes after the time the bell rings, we're gonna call your mama. And if you insult a little girl in your classroom, we're gonna ask you to say the same thing that you said to her to your grandmother. And no, you can't use the N-word in this school. So we had rules, and we rewarded kids who performed well with all kinds of incentives that we provided for them. And so that school became one of the most effective alternative schools in the state of Florida for keeping kids and getting them out of school with a diploma. And I trust that that's still happening. The school is now in El Portal and has been changed. The name has been changed. But listen, I tell you, I had a lot of jobs in my life. That was being principal of that school for about 15 years and seeing those kids walk across that stage. That was the best job I ever had in my life.
Awesome. I can only imagine. How did you think this school differed most from traditional schools, and why do you think it was so effective?
Because we kept up with the kids. You could not come. If you go to one of these big high schools that has 2,000 or 3,000 kids in it and you don't show up for homeroom, who notices until the middle of the day? At our school, if you weren't there by the time, someone called your home if you weren't in school. And that was one of the most important things we did. We talk about small classrooms and great teachers, but there was accountability. You had to be there. You had to be in the building. And once there, you had to work. And if you weren't working, the teachers had a right and the authority to put you out to a guidance center where you could spend time figuring out what to do next. That would be more in accordance with what we wanted. So that was structure. There was expectations. There were rewards. And there were also punishments. I'm a psychologist who was raised with that whole mantra of you reward and punish. You try to do it, not try to do it, you do that in a humane way, obviously, but you use the carrot and the stick. And we use both effectively to get a lot of kids out of high school.
So along the lines of punishments and your research in psychology, what's your take on police presence in school and the school to prison pipeline?
That's a good question. It's sad that we think we need police officers on school campuses. That has come to that. We had them at the academy. It had come to that in the school system. I don't know. It's such a change from when I was in first grade. It's such a change. But there's danger in schools where you need police officers to make sure everybody's safe. I hope that goes away. I hope that more men will take responsibility, particularly for security in schools. Fathers, not just black, white and black, everybody, particularly men, could do more who have children in schools to help security without having to depend on the police. So I'd rather see more parental support for school security than depending on the cops.
Right. I agree.
You know, let me give you, suppose 10 dads agree to come in every day and be in the building, on the campus, walking around in the library, 10 dads, or 10 moms. I don't know, dads, sometimes men have a little bit better impact in dealing with boys especially, but suppose there were 10 men who were on campus every day from a school, and they were just there to help and to be present. It would be, I think, a great addition to security and the performance of that school, to have those people on board and not cops.
Right. Especially if the dads were getting paid and this was their full-time job, so that they would be able to be there at school all day. I want to again, transition and talk about how you remain positive throughout your career and throughout your research and the traumatic events that you've seen and just the harsh facts of reality. Like, how do you cope and make sure that doesn't get to you and kind of dampen your spirit?
it does dampen my spirit sometimes. I have been to almost every place in Florida where there was a major lynching. Rosewood, Ocoee, Live Oak, Fort Lauderdale, Homestead, Jacksonville, Newberry. I've seen a lot of bloodshed. I've read about it, went to a lot of graves. But when you're studying race violence, as I made my career doing, particularly the latter part of it, you have to take the same sort of objectivity that a surgeon takes, or that a lawyer takes, or that a judge takes in dealing with reality. Once your feelings become a part of what you're doing professionally, you're ruined. It's over. So yeah, I could go to a cemetery that had 5 bodies of people who were lynched at the same time and write about that event and take the photographs of the tombstones and talk to the survivors, the descendants of the people who were killed, and then write about it in as objective a way as I can. And then that's hard to do. But people who work in law and medicine have the same challenges. You rise above in terms of your own emotional, as much as you can, and try to tell the story as fairly as you can. And that's an important thing, because once you get into telling the stories about race conflict in Florida, in this country, you could easily get into telling the story unfairly. An example, I now own property, and I've owned property in Rosewood for several years. The only Black person owning property in Rosewood since the massacre happened in 1923. Many of my white neighbors are very nice, very friendly to me. I've been into their homes. You know what they tell me? They tell me that when you all write about the Rosewood massacre, you all don't talk about the white folks who helped the Black people, who protected them. And there were people who did that. In every place I've been where lynchings happened, there were always a few white people who did the right thing at the right time. Now, the corollary of that, incidentally, is when that attack on the brothers in Liberty City happened during the riot, and I went up there that day in Liberty City, and those 2 boys were being killed. There was a white girl in the car. She was 15 years old. Her name was Deborah Getman. She was in the car that crashed, and these people attacked them and started killing these boys. And some people in the housing project saved that girl's life. They hid her in their apartment until they could get her out safely. So on that side, we also have people helping. So I just think it's important to try to be fair in telling history and recognize that humanity is not as bad as we might think when you look at a lynching picture or when you look at a mass shooting. Be careful about that, because you could easily find yourself thinking the world's going mad. We're not going mad. Because some disturbed or angry person takes a gun and goes into a shopping mall and shoots people, as tragic as that is, it doesn't mean the country's going crazy. We're still here. The same folks are still here.
So unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. It's been a very insightful conversation. We don't have any time for questions, but very quickly, where can participants find your work and follow up, plug any social media, websites, anything?
I'm going to give you some information, but I want you to take it carefully. I have started a new webpage on my own to put my work up that I've done over the last 40 years in Black history. It's called donehistory.com. It is unfinished. I just started it. The only thing I have up now is my work on Rosewood. So you're welcome to go and visit and learn about Rosewood. But in 3 weeks, that web page will be filled out with primarily Black Florida history and Black Miami history. So I invite you to come back. If you take a quick look now at Rosewood, come back in 3 weeks, and we'll have a lot of material on what things we're talking about tonight and on the history of Black people in Florida and in Miami in particular on that webpage, donehistory.com. But again, it's being developed. It's just an infant in development at this stage.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Thank you so much for your time, and it's been a great conversation.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Thank you both, Kiana and Dr. Dunn, for this thought-provoking and engaging conversation on the progress we have made as a people, as a nation, and will continue to make as we demand and push forward. Thank you both again. Okay, everyone, a change of direction. I hope everyone's ready to eat some good food. And I don't think I need to remind everyone of how important food is to a culture. I recently watched a series on Netflix called High on the Hog. The series traced the origins of African-American cuisine from Africa to Texas and showcased the historical significance it has played in America, which I highly recommend you guys to watch. Next up, we have an appetizing delight, fried jerk chicken wings. Andre, better known as Dre, will be sharing with us tonight his own version of jerk fried chicken wings. This dish brings a spicy, savory flavor of the Caribbean and turns it into a crispy comfort food we all love, chicken wings. And a little bit about Dre. Dre has been in the hospitality and food service industry for over 10 years. He started his culinary journey in 2006 when he opened Wings Around the World in Chicago with fellow alum Bing Stewart. After attending culinary school, Dre worked as a banquet chef and manager for several years. He also provides culinary instruction at a local high school in Broward County. He's the owner of Palmer Collection LLC, where he creates his own food product line of marinades, frozen foods, and his flagship sauce, Guava Bravo. Without further ado, let me introduce you to my uncle and fellow Cane, Dre.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Trayvon. I just want to say, Trayvon, I'm very proud of you for your recent graduation. Welcome to the Cane family. I'm gonna leave it up to you to get your brother to attend UM, and I'll do my best to get my kids to attend UM as well. So today we are doing jerk fried wings. All right. Just to elaborate more on food, like, yes, food is an awesome way to express your culture. Food is actually my love language. All right. I'm not very expressive emotionally. So in order for me to show love to my friends and family, I do through food. That's the same thing I teach my students at Stranahan High School. Food is more than just a way to eat. It's a way to express yourself. It's a way to show love. It's a way to highlight your culture. And I had the privilege to teach students from different backgrounds, and they actually taught me a lot. So without further ado, I know I don't have much time. I could always ramble. This is what I do as a teacher. I just talk. I'm big on lectures. So today we're going to do a quick and simple recipe. All right, jerk fried wings. Now for the health buffs, you could do the marinade, just a straight jerk marinade, and then throw it in your air fryer. But myself, I like my wings fried the old-fashioned way. Being that I had a chicken wing restaurant in Chicago with the late Bang Stewart. We were also the Wing King of 2008 in Chicago. So I thought it was only right to bring wings to the table today. And I'm just breaking out of my gloves. We're gonna make it work anyway. All right, so we're gonna start off first with our marinade. So we're gonna have 2 cups of buttermilk. We'll pour it in our bowl. All right. And then we have our jerk seasoning. All right, my favorite brand to use, brand is JCB. A lot of people they're big fans of the Walker's Wood. That's just my choice. All right, so I'm just gonna take a few heaping tablespoons of the jerk. Now, if you like it super hot, you get the spicier jerk seasoning. If you have the time, you can always make it. All right, just add this, a little bit of extra salt. Just gonna stir this up. All right, chicken wings on the side. This is where you cook all your wings. Now it's best to have these in marinating for 3 to 4 hours. I'm a little extra, so I do 24 hours. I want to make it nice and tender. So the buttermilk, what the buttermilk does, the enzymes in the buttermilk breaks down the tissues in the wings, and that's what makes it more tender. All right, so just want to make sure this is nice and seasoned. You may hear a laugh in the background. That is my daughter, Marley. She may join us later on. Who knows how she feels. All right, and now we are going to go with our dredge. All right, so the dredge is made of flour, cornstarch, and an assortment of spices. These are all in the recipe. All right, we have garlic powder, onion powder, salt, black pepper, thyme, allspice, cumin. That's my little secret. Don't tell anybody. And cinnamon and nutmeg. All right, so it's going to dump this all in. Now, if you don't want to take the time to measure all the ingredients, a fellow Cane of ours, Jason Dent, he has a series of dry rubs and seasonings. His company is called the Shiznit Kitchen. He does catering as well. His website is shiznitkitchen.com, I believe. And you could find I think he has about 7 different blends. 8. All right. You can use his. He has an amazing jerk rub. You can use that and throw it directly into your flour if you don't want to take the time to measure out all the ingredients. And last, we have cornstarch. Now, cornstarch is what gives that crunch. Like a good chicken wing should always have crunch. All right, especially if it's being dredged. All right. So we're just going to mix this up. I don't want to use my chicken hand, so I'm going to use my other hand. When you're doing this, you always want to keep a wet and a dry hand. Because otherwise, if you're doing a lot of wings, you're going to end up with a big glob of flour on your hand. And also, this does get a little messy, so let's be kind of careful with this. So it's mixing it all up, make sure everything's incorporated. All right. Now, you want to just shake off the excess buttermilk off this and just drop them in your flour. And you don't want to overcrowd your dredge, because then it becomes very hard for everything to get a nice coat on it. So when it comes on the wings, I wonder who is who loves flats or who loves the drumettes? That's always a war. That was a big thing when we had the shop in Chicago. Shout out to Aston. She always came through. She always promoted us to our friends, business, our co-workers. Definitely appreciated that. All right, so when your wings are in the dredge, you want to let it sit for about 30 seconds because you want all the moisture to be absorbed by the flour. All right, and that's where you get that ultimate crunch. Hey, boo boo, you want to come on? You showing me your dolls? You want to come up? Say hi to everyone. Come up, stand on the chair. Say hi, more. All right, someone's being a little shy right now. All right, so they've been soaking they've been in there for long enough. Just going to drop them in our grease. Now, I myself have a deep fryer. If you do have a deep fryer, 350. All right, 350, 360 degrees, and that will give you a good crisp after about 12 minutes. I do like my wings fried a little hard. So I do extend to about 15 minutes. All right. So just going to drop these wings in now. You want to shake off all the excess flour because that will destroy your grease after a while. All right, just gonna put these to the side. I'll finish those later.
All right, so while those go, I do have some already finished right here. All right, just gonna add our guava brava sauce. Yeah. All right, so if you're interested in purchasing a bottle of guava brava, our website is www.palmerworldwide.com. Now, guava brava is an all-natural sauce. There's no preservatives, no additives. Everything that's in this you can purchase at a grocery store. And that is what we pride ourselves on over here. Just want to pour a good amount. Just want to put the rest and toss the wings. Get a nice even coat. Look at that. Look how shiny that is. All right. All done. You just plate it up. All right, there you have it. Simple jerk fried wings, glazed or tossed in the guava brava sauce. So right here, you will get the spices, the flavors from the jerk, little some sweetness, and a little touch of extra heat from the sauce itself. All right. Oh, and there's a quick tip: if you are if you're using deep fryer and you're frying wings, once the wings float, that lets you know that it is wrapping up. So you want to give it about another 1, maybe 2 minutes. All right, just to finish up. But 12 minutes is pretty much all you need at 350, 360. All right. Any questions from anyone?
So,
this is the fellow Kang, in unbiased opinion, I want to come on here and let y'all know. Yes, tell the people what you think.
we actually have a question, Andre.
That thing's smoking.
Question comes from Karen. She says, will this work with an air fryer?
Will it work with air fryer? All right, so the dredging part will not work. All right, but if you just do naked wings, when I say naked, that means there's no flour added to it. You marinate it in the jerk seasoning. I said 3 to 4 hours, 24 hours. I will personally recommend, and you can pop those in the air fryer. I think that should probably take about 20 to 30 minutes to be done in the air fryer. Any more questions? Keep them coming. I love questions.
I'm sorry, I was muted. One of the questions was from Carol, and she said, what oil do you use?
I use canola oil.
Okay. Someone else wanted to know, what is the best way to fry if you don't have a deep fryer? How can they ensure the crispiness? You know, that crispiness is the goal.
All right, so if you're gonna do pan fry, all right, you wanna basically make sure there's enough oil to cover half of the wing. All right, so you wanna make sure your oil is about 2, maybe 3 inches high. And then you'll just flip it halfway, about 7 minutes on each side. Now, the trick is when you're doing pan fry, it's very hard to gauge temperature. So you could either use a high temperature thermometer, or just you might want to sacrifice a couple wings to the cause.
So there's a quick question. Someone said, can they use it in the oven? Can they make it in the oven?
Yes, you could definitely do it in the oven if you have a convection oven. All right, convection oven where the air circulates. Yes, you could definitely put it in there. Before I purchased my air fryer, that's what I did my wings in when I didn't really want to do any frying. Getting up in age, I'm trying to slim down, you know, make weight. I'm trying to get back to how I looked when I was in college. If you are going to use the air fryer or you are going to use the baking method, what you're going to want to do is use just a little bit of cornstarch on your naked wings, and it will help to go ahead and create the crispness. So what you're going to do, season a little bit of cornstarch, just like how he went ahead and seasoned his flour here. Use that on top of your wings, just a small thin coat, and then when you put them in the air fryer or in the oven, they will bake up nice and crispy. Big facts, big facts.
Someone also wanted to know, can it be grilled?
Oh, most definitely. Jerk chicken is meant to be done on the grill. All right, it's definitely that. The smokiness enhances all the flavors. All right, it's just it's an extra flavor that blends very well with everything that jerk is made with. So yes, definitely the grill if you want to, and that's one of probably the healthiest way to eat wings.
So I have two more questions. One is saying, what's a good alternative to flour for a gluten-free alternative?
Naked. I would say it's go naked, or for gluten-free, you could probably use like white rice flour. Tempura as well.
And then the last question that I see, what were the ingredients added to the flour?
Oh, so the ingredients added garlic powder, onion powder, salt, black pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, and my little extra cumin.
Okay.
Oh, and thyme.
Okay, so I'll actually make this the last question. It was this one came in, and it's from David. He says, of the Swiss kitchen seasonings, which are the best ones to pair with your guava brava for wings?
Actually, I'm gonna have Ian answer that one because he has all of it. As an avid shiznit kitchen seasoning user, I will say that it really just depends on the type of protein that you're using. As far as the wings go, you could definitely do the jerk. He's got a sunshine, he's got a sizzle, he's got various different flavors that you can kind of create a little bit of a nuance. All of them definitely work really well with chicken wings and with Dredge sauce. So when you combine both any of those seasonings inside of your flour or directly on the wings, and then go ahead and give them that last kiss of the guava brava, it really is a home run. Now, for the sauce, originally the sauce was made for salmon, but over the years, with other people trying it out, they started experimenting with it, and it has grew into something to where it's everything sauce. All right, so when I say everything, it could go on shrimp, fried, grilled, however you like it. Fish, salmon, snapper, fried or grilled. Chicken, of course. Chicken, of course. Steaks. All right, you can put it on a nicely grilled steak. All right, lamb. Oh, the options are endless. It's whatever you could create. Eggs. I'm an avid user for eggs.
You go on and on.
I go through bottles of my own stuff, and I guess not just eat your own supply all the time. That green monkey on the way too. Yeah. I do have another sauce in works. So we have the guava bravas hot. So this is this sweet, but now I'm working on it's in R&D right now, the final stage of R&D. Spicy savory sauce, and yes, I'm a big fan of that one myself.
Appreciate it, Dre. Everyone, make sure to go out and get some guava brava sauce. And thank you again for the presentation, Andre. The food looks
welcome.
I can't wait.
A pleasure.
Bon appetit, everyone. So I want to also remind everyone to submit your family favorite Juneteenth recipe as we conclude this. But this has been a wonderful evening, but it also must have to come to an end, sadly. But before I go, I wanted to mention a few things happening currently on campus. Currently, there is a virtual art exhibit featuring works from Jacob Lawrence, an American painter known for his portrayal of African-American historical subjects. Along with that, at the Low Art Museum, there's also the work of Roberto Diago, a contemporary life and Afro-Cuban artist whose work reflects the influences of his past as he confronts the Cuban racial narrative. So make sure you guys visit the Lowe website to check these collections out virtually. The Lowe plans to reopen to the general public in August and will also be waiving general admission fees for everyone. So that's what's happening on campus. And I want to thank everyone again for joining us and supporting the Black Alumni Society. I encourage everyone to hold fast to our culture, to study and honor our history as a way to remember the sacrifices of our ancestors, and to make sure to visit the Alumni website to stay informed of upcoming events throughout the summer at alumni.miami.edu. Have a blessed evening, everyone. And here to close us out, I now invite Dr. Morgan, President of the Black Alumni Society.
Thank you so much, Trayvon. I would like to thank everyone for coming this evening, and thank you to our university for hosting this virtual program. I don't know about you all, but I've learned so much this evening: the history of the libation ceremonies, the humility of our ancestor, and a reminder of how much work we have left to do. And I also enjoyed the opportunity to fellowship with my fellow Canes in the chat box all evening. The Black Alumni Society looks forward to hosting both in-person and virtual events to engage our alums from across the world. And remember, we can always use additional hands, because I checked the sign-up sheet and I didn't see that many people signed up to volunteer for committees. So I'm gonna drop the link once more in the event that you would like to join us. So please check the chat box. Before leaving, I do have a few thank yous and a couple of reminders. I would like to thank our executive board, President-elect Aston Hayes, who was instrumental in developing this year's theme and vision, Vice President Leslie, Secretary Alana, Fundraising Chair and Treasurer Asgar, Executive at Large, Dr. Koontz, past President Wendy, and our past Executive at Large, who couldn't be here with us tonight but supported us throughout the entire planning process, Stan Thornton. Also, I would like to thank our staff. Doreen, thank you so much for being our lifeline to the U, and also thank you to the alumni engagement team that's able to promote our events and get us all the tech that we need to make these things happen. Bridget, I know you were unable to be with us today, but we know that you are here in spirit, so we would like to thank you, as well as the strategic events team, Alba and Debbie, for helping us with today's events. Ashley, thank you so much for communicating our efforts to the general public, posting it on the website, as well as our social media page, and sharing our important history. Hammond Butler Gospel Choir, thank you so much for coordinating our events, our opening ceremony today, so we greatly appreciate it. To our wonderful and phenomenal host, Trayvon, thank you so much for facilitating today's events and the conversations that we've had with our program guests. And last but not least, our program guest, Dr. Dunn, thank you so much for your insightful history on Miami and our next steps. Kiana, thank you so much for narrating that conversation. Nia, oh, I was so amazed by everything you've offered, the history that's been untold, but we know that we can rewrite it moving forward. Andre, thank you so much. I am on the website right now checking out, and a couple of people in the chat box would love to get the link to your website. So before logging off, please be sure to drop your website links again. And last but not least, to my University of Miami Black Alumni Society, our family, thank you so much for coming and joining us this evening. We hope you have a wonderful evening, and let's continue our celebrations.